welcome to the Movie Mechanics Podcast. I am Sam, the movie mechanic. Today, I have absolute pleasure to talk with an actress most known to our audience for her role as Zora, the replicant snake charmer from Blade Runner, Dolores from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Rose Lindsay from Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. That's a favorite of my wife. I will tell you that right now. This is the very talented and award-winning actress, Joanna Cassidy. Ms. Cassidy, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. How are you?
Great.
Wonderful. So in addition to the many credits that you have as an actress, you're also an artist. And art is something that kind of runs in my family. My grandfather was a sculptor. He did a lot of commissioned pieces around the country. Yeah, but mostly in the Southwest, mostly in Arizona, New Mexico area.
So he was that sort of cowboy Remington, that bronze, or what did he work at?
He worked primarily in paint, but he also did a lot of sandstone.
Oh, he did. Okay. All right.
He was also a bit of an adventurer. He did some he's like a hobo for a while, but he was also in the military as a leisure instructor. He was in charge of recreation during the war.
Leisure as in how to vacation, or?
Well, so they would have, they'd have the soldiers stationed all over, and then he would direct them in games of football or basketball or what have you. He's in charge of. It was like the PE.
I like the title. It's very 50s.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I wanted to ask you was, what is your preferred medium of art? I know that you do some drawing, but is that your favorite, or is there something else that really gets you going?
No, it's not my favorite. My art now takes place sort of in the backyard or in photography, helping people mold their look, fashion, makeup. It's all a form of art.
Absolutely. I
mentoring, all that stuff.
Yeah. So what is it about the creative process that keeps pulling you back in?
It's just in my DNA. My mother was an artist, my grandfather was, and it's pleasurable. I mean, I can tell you right now, I don't get any pleasure from working on a computer. That to me is torture.
Okay, torture. Yeah, I hear you. I definitely hear you on that. So
I'd rather be outside and doing things and creating things and doing heavy lifting rather than sitting in a technical situation.
So if a friend calls you up, say, "Hey, I need you to move my house," are you up for it? Is that what you're saying?
I'd probably figure out a way to do it. You laugh, but I'm a lot stronger than a lot of people. You'd be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I would love to arm wrestle with you sometime. That would be amazing.
Okay, we're on.
So is there any part of the creative process that you wish came more easily, or anything that maybe creates a little bit of an artist block from time to time?
Well, it's like anything in life. If you decide that you can do it, if you tell yourself you can do it, you can probably do it. I think I never told myself that I could direct, and I probably could do it. The idea that you're kind of maneuvering masses of people is a little daunting to me, but I'm sure it can be done. I'm sure that everyone who takes that on the first time is terrified out of their minds, but then they go ahead and do it.
You're talking about being the boss on like a set as the director. Yeah. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, absolutely.
So is that part of the acting process that maybe you'd be interested in exploring more? Or is it something you're saying, no, I'm not really interested in that?
I don't know. I never say never. I dream it sometimes. I fantasize doing that, but lives in my head. I just have to bring it to planet Earth, and who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll do my own movie someday. You never know.
Well, I'd love to see it for sure. Is there a story prompt that is living in your head rent free right now?
Part of my own insane, crazy, marvelous life lives in there,
Excellent.
which I probably would play the latter half of it myself and then find someone that's looks like me to play the earlier part.
Very good. So my wife is probably at home right now watching reruns of Dallas.
Okay.
She has watched that for her whole life, honestly. And you were on a few episodes of Dallas, and I have to ask, what was it like to be part of that cultural phenomenon? And did you have someone who you accused of shooting JR? Were you right?
I wasn't in that thinking mode. It was hit and miss. I worked with Larry. I knew Larry from before. That was a long time ago. You have to understand. I liked Patrick very much. I thought he was great. I don't even remember what character I played. So there you go.
Sally Bullock.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm sure it was exciting. It got all over the world.
That's true. Yeah.
That was an amazing show.
So you didn't have anybody that you were suspecting as the shooter?
No.
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 Were your fingers crossed that it would be Sally Bullock bring you back on the show?
Well, sure. Don't we all? I mean, listen, every job I've ever had, I've had a good time. And I watched your show with Eric Roberts, and I worked with Eric 3 times. So I like that guy. I think he's a good guy.
He is a good guy. It was a lot of fun having him on the show, and we ended up talking about his sex life for quite a while. That was interesting. I'm not trying to dip into that right now, but one of the things that I've learned about you is that you're also an athlete. You played a lot of tennis, is that right? Were there any other sports you were involved in?
I played everything. Field hockey, basketball, baseball. Over the years, I've done, everything I can do to stay in shape, and gym and running and mountain running, sand dune running. I do Pilates now and free weights. I like that. I'm a gym rat. I like to be in the gym. I like groups of people. I just like to participate in physical things, because when you do, you feel better.
Absolutely. It sounds like you and my grandpa would have got along really well. That was basically his job, is he'd just go around and play sports with everybody. But is there an overlap between athletic competition and acting or performance art?
Well, I think, in the old days when actors were under contract, they ended up being taught everything. They could sing, they could dance. Being physical is a very important part of the process of acting. You've got to be fast on your feet and really comfortable, and you've got to look good physically. I mean, I know that a lot of film and television is all in the face, but you got to work your way there. And if you're not comfortable in your body, forget about it. It's not going to look good.
And what does that feel like? The you said being comfortable with your body. What does that mean to you?
Well, I can really dance. So if someone asks me to spin on a dime, if someone asks me to fall down and do physical comedy, I can do that. I'm still not afraid to do that. I just think it's all because you're not just acting with your head, you're acting with your entire being and your hands. You can't be fighting what's going on below your neck, if that makes sense.
That's an interesting, yeah, it's an interesting take on it. Yeah. Fighting what's going on below your neck. So, trying to get your body to keep up with the image you
Sure.
have in your mind of what your performance is going to be.
And you know what? That's very key, because I think every actor visualizes how they want it, how it's going to look on screen, and they go, okay, and I'm going to do this, and I'm gonna step here, and this is going to be great. And let me tell you something, you get a camera rolling and you've got 50 people around you, it can change in a second. All of a sudden, all the eyes are on you and you get nervous and you're going, oh my God, let's all operate together here. And somehow your hips don't go where your brain wants you to go. Honestly, it's really interesting. I'm sure you've been on dates before where you could be talking up a storm and the next thing you know, you're tripping over your feet. It's not in sync.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
It happens. So if you have to be able to trust yourself as an actor.
Yeah.
And trust every part of yourself. So you don't worry about what's below your shoulders. It's all gonna flow.
Yeah, I would say, probably there's some measure of fear that kind of interferes with your intention.
It does.
Yeah. It interferes with your
absolutely
intention and your performance, right?
Yes, it can cut in and you're going, whoa, what was that? Or you go to kiss somebody or you go to hug someone, it's awkward. It shows.
Yeah. So how do you overcome that kind of fear when you're in front of people or in a performance setting?
Well, I don't think you ever overcome it. I think you accept it. And if you have a good person, other actors that you're working with, you can tell them, I'm really scared to death. And this is how I see it. And this is what I'd like it to look like. Can you just be patient with me? And I'll get there. Let's work it together, but know that I have apprehension here.
That's got to require a lot of trust on the part of you and your fellow actors, right? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that idea of fear kind of interfering with your performance. I have a brief story about that. I broke my thumb a week ago playing dodgeball because I was scared and I made a misstep and it cost me my thumb.
Did the ball hit? Were you trying to catch it weird, or did somebody
trying to catch? So the league that I started, we don't play with these like squishy balls.
I love dodgeball, by the way.
We use volleyballs.
Oh, okay. All right. The real deal.
Yeah, and it's intense. And I was standing very close to the guy who was throwing the ball, and the ball kind of hit the front of my thumb like this.
Yeah.
Pushed it. Yeah, but it was more than a regular jam, and turns out it's broken. But it was that fear, just your ability to kind of be in the moment pauses.
Oh.
And then you lose the moment, and then something bad happens. But I was kind of hoping for some advice. It takes a lot of trust, and that's a key point is trusting your teammates, trusting your fellow performers, but trusting yourself too, right?
Well, also, accepting the fact that sometimes you can fail.
Yeah.
It's not always perfect. Try and play a perfect game. And I know sports people try to ace the ball in whatever way, they're doing it. I do that too.
Yeah.
I want to throw to be, when I pitch a ball, I want it right over the mound. I want it there. It doesn't always happen.
So how much of the athletic training would you say translates to acting? Like what's the overlap look like?
Well, it has a lot to do with your build, and um, it has a lot to do with how you present yourself. Sometimes it can make you look very strong. Sometimes it can make you look not so vulnerable, which is too bad because sometimes some of the strongest people and toughest people are the most vulnerable because they're, open to all sides of themselves. A lot of actors are really tiny people. I don't know if they're aware of that or not, but they're really, really tiny.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I
but
hear
trust
that
me, they're
folks
tiny.
like Tom Cruise or like Tom Cruise is short and he has to stand on stilts or boxes and stuff.
Well, he's short, but he's not diminutive. He's not a fragile guy. He works out. He doesn't starve himself like a lot of actors do.
Yeah, sure. Um, so this is more transitioning towards your experience with Don't Tell Moms the Babysitter's Dead. W.C. Fields kind of famously cautioned actors and directors from working with kids and animals. Did you have any, when you were working on that film, did you have any problems with the young cast?
Oh, they were adorable, but they weren't. I think what W.C. Fields was complaining about is kids, little kids, 5-year-olds. I don't even remember how old those kids were, but they were adorable.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
friends with them now. So, I mean,
well, that's wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, no, they're great. They're great.
That's a movie that my kids watch. My wife puts it on for them and they watch it and they love when your character comes in at the end and they're doing the fashion show. And I'm always like, okay, these are clothes meant for working stiffs, right? And coming in berets and like checker print and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they love that moment. And so to hear that you guys are still friends, I'm sure they'll love to know that. So it's just another day in the park, or was it even better working with kids? Would you challenge W.C. Fields on his cautionary tale?
Well, it depends on the kids. There's some kids that are awful. And I've worked with them. They're terrible.
Are you going to name names? Should we name names? I'll write it down.
Absolutely not. Nope.
Put it in the memoir.
I do not name names. Nobody knows, but I have worked around children. I just go, oh my God, I don't know how anybody is tolerating this. And I know I'm not the only one, but I'm just going to push through it and make it happen. But you know what? It's not so much the kids, it's mostly the mothers.
The mothers. Tell me about that. You have some children, right? You have a couple of children of your own, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as working with children and being a mother, did what kind of issues did you see with these kids who were poorly behaved on set?
Usually the mother wants more attention than the children are getting. It's can be sometimes a very competitive situation, and the mothers are neurotic or a little crazy. Just the mothers are difficult. It's not the kids.
That makes a lot of sense. I've seen a lot of that in my own life as a father, but I find that for the most part, if you treat the kids a certain way, they act a certain way.
Works like that.
So in 6 Feet Under, you play another mother who's very complex, Margaret Chenoweth, right?
Yeah.
And she had a bit of a troubled relationship with her family members, including her husband. and her husband unfortunately died like right after you guys renewed, or the characters renewed their marital vows, right? What is it about a vow renewal that portends doom in stories like that?
Well, I don't know. Is that so?
It happens all the time.
Oh,
I think I've seen, you've got a good example is Game of Thrones. You watch Game of Thrones, they have the red wedding.
okay.
That's right. But vow renewals oftentimes are followed by
Death.
or revelation of
Mayhem.
infidelity or divorce or something like that. Some kind of impending doom. But not just in shows, in real life too. I mean, I guess it's kind of real life.
Well, the only thing that I know about marriage is that, renew or whatever, or they have a huge anniversary party, is that, and if they die, the wives go right out and redo the house. So there's reconstruction that happens. The construction that never happened in the marriage happens in the house. That's what I see. I don't see the other stuff. I don't see it. My friends are all together for eons, or not together at all, or just single,
Sure. Yeah, I would say one of the more recent examples, there's a show that my wife really enjoys. I used to enjoy it as well, but it's called Married at First Sight, and it's about these folks they were marrying strangers they were all set up by a production company with so-called experts, and there was one
like
couple,
matchmakers.
Yeah, exactly. And there was one couple who survived the season on the show as a married couple, but decided they were going to do a vow renewal. And on the eve of the vow renewal, the husband said, "I'm out. I got to get out of here. I don't want to do this anymore."
Okay.
And
Did they shoot him?
she did not shoot him. She didn't kill him, but it was a lot of frustration in that, because it's not just them, but everybody who had been following the show and following them and rooting for them as a couple who are really frustrated by that. And I've kind of looked at vow renewals with a bit of skepticism ever since then. I mean, not just since then. It's something I've noticed for a long time, but it seems like it's a trope that
I can tell you something. My parents renewed their vows, their 50th wedding anniversary, and I wanted to shoot them both. They were awful. It was the worst time I've ever had.
What happened?
They were arguing and carrying on, and I just went, "Oh my God, we've thrown this huge party, and I want to strangle them both."
Exactly.
No love going on there.
Yeah. Well, these are just things that are going through my head when I'm watching your shows and your works, and you have won a boatload of awards, it seems, for your performances, and they're well deserved. Is there anything about awards that you struggle with, or is it something you're shooting for, or is it something you're just like, oh well, this is nice, it's a cherry on top of this whole career?
Never shot for them, never worked for them, was delighted to get them. Surprised, very much so. 2 Canadian Emmys. I never thought I would be nominated for that. I mean, it was a Canadian show, Call Me Fitz, Jason Priestley. Fabulous show. Golden Globe, 2 Emmy nominations. Should have won the one year for the supporting comedian. Should have won that. That's the only time I ever got exercised about an award. The rest of them, just a hell of a good time. I think there was something on Who Framed Roger Rabbit too. It was an ensemble. Oh, there's a couple other things I remember.
Yeah. Well, they're well deserved. I think that you've got an impressive and enormous body of work, and put in a lot of time and effort, and it really shows. And I guess my one question would be then, do you find yourself always putting in the 100% in every role, or are there some roles where you're like, I need a breather, so I'm gonna take it easy on this one? What's the difference from one role to the other?
Well, I don't think that, I don't, I certainly, because I can criticize actors that I see walking through something. I mean, that's really unpleasant to watch because an entire crew is counting on you to, show up and do your performance. I think that there have been some performances that I've done that I didn't really feel like I got the character
Yeah.
100%. But that's debatable because other people thought different things. But inside, I have my own take on something. And then sometimes I've just gone into a role and it's just absolutely been so easy for me to do. I found that although there was tension working with Rachel Griffith, but I think she's a kind of a method actress, and but the tension was good. It worked, and that was a role I just totally took on. I didn't have to pretend anything. It was just there. But then there was a role in Odd Mom Out where I played an East Side very wealthy woman. That was a little uncomfortable because that's not what my base is. I mean, I'm a country girl from New Jersey. It's just, and though I look sophisticated, I have a look which I'm aware of. The kind of lends itself more back to the old days because it's glamorous, but it doesn't always fit me. So I have to find it. But I did, honestly, for about the last 10, 12 years, I've been in shows that weren't huge. And I would do 3 or 4 of them, like Call Me Fitz, never got to the States. I mean, you can order that show now on a DVD, and it's a brilliant show. It is hilarious. 4 years in Nova Scotia. And I loved doing it. I loved every bit of it. Odd Mom Out was Bravo television. It was mostly New York favored. What was the other one? Or 2 other ones. Well, Body of Proof got out there that was pretty big. People did see that one. And then there was one other one that I did that was 3 or 4 years that just wasn't, they were all well received, but they weren't critical hits.
Right.
And I've been really lucky in my career to be in movies and television that have been uber adored by the critics, and then ultimately, the audiences. So I've been really fortunate with that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes people have to find me in a movie, find me in a show.
Sure.
But my career's been sustainable, and I would have liked it to be bigger, but then there was part of me that was a little afraid of it being bigger. It's a little scary too.
Yes, trade-offs, right?
So, but I've been really fortunate. I've been blessed, and people have hired me. It's been great. Just been great.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. Where can people find you?
Well, they can find me on Instagram. It's official Joanna Cassidy. And you can find me all over the place. I'll tell you a couple places you can find me. If you want to talk to me, you can go to, I have a presence on Cameo. I also have a presence on a website called Coach the World, where you can talk to me for an amount of time about anything, about acting, about love, about people, situations, experience. That's kind of fun. I enjoy that. So that's Coach the World. I'm trying to think if there's anything. I was just in a show called Leverage, and Younger Leverage is playing now. There's a movie coming out that I did with Isai Morales. That'll be coming out soon. And thus and such.
Well, wonderful. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much. And we will look forward to those projects, and we will be following you on Instagram and all those other places. Thanks again.
Thanks, Sam. Good interview. Thank you.
Thank you.